Well, this movie depressed me, and I tried to be fair, and I will say there were some visual flashes, but yeah, Garfield is mostly junk, and it is not good, fairly boring, and so far removed from the classic Garfield. Now, I grew up with, yes, a time of newspapers, so I remember reading Garfield in newspapers and actually seeing the cartoon back in the day. So this is a very different version. It's a very inferior version. But were there some good moments? Yes, there were some moments where I did laugh and giggle. There were a few meta jokes that actually landed. And I do think some of the villain designs actually were very strong. So some of the villains, okay, they had a little bit of a personality. Um, but overall, extremely disappointing. Now, I really didn't expect a great Garfield film. I knew that wasn't going to happen. And them having Chris Pratt as the voice was like an early signal. Yeah, this is not going to be good. So how would I rank this? Well, I'd say this is like terrible, but not totally horrible. There were some redemptive features. Like I said, the visual style here and there was strong. Um, the villains were engaging for a little bit, but really, this is a very low effort product. It doesn't seem like the voice actors even cared. I mean, they have a lot of celebrities: Samuel L. Jackson, Snoop Dogg. Yeah, this who's who of people. There's a lot of big people in this, but it's really all for nothing. And it's also very deceptive. Like from the trailer, you'd think John is going to be a major part of the story. No, no. This is a Garfield movie to the detriment of the Garfield movie because it is wall to wall Garfield. And you're like, we probably could have had a better story with less Garfield. So, what is occurring? Well, it's no spoilers, so I'll be very general. Basically, it's the story of Garfield. And again, I don't think this is a plot twist because it's pretty obvious. He meets his father. That's about it. He goes on an adventure. Some bad guys kidnap him, and he and his father meet up. And that is it. They have an adventure together. It really is weird because although the animal villain people are fine, we have literally human people villains too. And when they come in, it's like, huh? So yes, we have the animal villains and then we have the human villains. And you're like, what? So yeah, this thing is really a lot of plot. And I just reviewed Phantom Menace, and it's really funny that a lot of people get angry at Phantom Menace for being a kids' film or being aimed at a juvenile audience. But there is so much great stuff in Phantom Menace. Even if you're bored with large sections, there are sections you will probably like the Darth Maul fight. Almost everyone likes that sequence. But this one, this thing is a relatively short movie. It is like 90 minutes, but this thing dragged. This thing really dragged a lot. There is a lot of plot. There is a lot of plot. Just when you think it's like, oh, it's just Garfield meets his dad. No, it becomes another plot. It turns into another thing. And I'm like, okay, why? So it's just very confusing. Again, it's not a story you're going to have trouble deciphering, but you're like, well, why? It's just a lot of plot, a lot of dialogue, of course, a lot of jokes. Most of the jokes weren't funny. I get it. This is a kids' film. It's aimed at a very young audience, but they were fairly lame and the story wasn't engaging. And again, it feels like I'm trying to insult Chris Pratt. I'm really not. So I was listening very closely at the beginning of the film, which was very disappointing. Visually, it was very disappointing. But I was just paying attention to the voice. I was wondering, oh, is that John? And it's like, oh no, that's Chris Pratt. Like, literally, Chris Pratt does no acting. It's just his voice. He did nothing to his voice, nothing at all. Didn't modulate it, didn't work on it. It's just him speaking. That is it. So if you want a movie where Chris Pratt kind of whines for 80 minutes and wants more lasagna in his mouth, this is for you. But there you go. So I'm going to give this a very severe 4 out of 10. On a final note, some people would say, well, maybe this is just not for you. You know, it's like really child animation stuff. No, listen, I grew up with a lot of great Disney animation. Rescue Rangers, loved it. Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, DuckTales. Again, I have no issue with an adaptation doing its own things. because really, Rescue Rangers and Tailspin, they were not in the original property. So clearly just made up everything with those stories. But they were great stories. The animation was very strong. It had a few bad moments here and there. Not all episodes were great, but on the whole, yeah, the average episode of Rescue Rangers or Darkwing Duck were amazing. This is just really weak. It's just a lot of celebrities. They're just paid to show up. They're mouthing the dialogue. They don't seem to be very motivated, and the story's just kind of weak. Uh, but again, there are a few good visual moments. I don't like the design of this version of Garfield, but listen, it's their design. I really didn't get into the style. That said, it could have been worse. A 4 out of 10 is not good, but it's better than a 3 out of 10 or 2 out of 10. So it's kind of like better than Halloween Ends or Halloween Kills or Madame Web. Like it's better than the worst films of all time. It's not Battlefield Earth. It is better than Battlefield Earth, but not by much. So, yeah, just see one of the old Garfield episodes if you like Garfield. If you don't like even Garfield, then see one of the older Disney cartoons, either the TV or the movies. But yeah, is this great animation? No. Is this a great kids film? No. Is this a great film? No. It's just a very below average corporate product, and it's pretty much garbage. I can't believe some people are being really nice saying, well, for what it is, it's good. No, no. For what it is meant for really small, stupid children. I hate to be brutal, but it is really just for really small, stupid children. Anyone else is going to be like, it's kind of boring, kind of lame, and yeah, I'm not interested.